Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we are diving into a really intense ancient debate. It's from a text called the Mahāsaccaka Sutta. If you've ever found yourself wondering how on earth to find unshakable peace in this chaotic, hyper-stimulating world we live in, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to unpack a pretty gripping confrontation about mastering the mind and body. Let's just jump right into it.
So right off the bat, we're hit with a super provocative question. And honestly, it's the whole premise of our explainer today. Can you actually achieve true peace by pushing your physical body to the absolute limit? This was the exact challenge thrown down by a famous ancient debater named Saccaka. He literally goes right up to the Buddha and claims that to forge a truly unbreakable mind, you have to subject our body to extreme, punishing conditions. Saccaka's whole vibe is that without harsh physical training, we're all just too soft to handle the real world.
Section 1, the mind-body debate. Saccaka's challenge.
Saccaka comes at the Buddha, arguing that anyone who only trains their mind and ignores the body is basically doomed to fail. His logic kind of makes sense on the surface, right? He thinks if you haven't trained your body through serious hardship, the very second unexpected, intense physical pain strikes, your mental focus is going to completely shatter. For him, physical extremes literally equal mental strength. But the Buddha totally flips the script. He explains that true mastery isn't about torturing yourself, and it's definitely not about losing yourself in luxury either. It's about finding this incredibly delicate balance. True peace means cultivating a mind that doesn't get consumed by physical pleasure and doesn't get crushed by physical pain.
Section 2, the 3 fire similes. Visualizing mental and physical attachment. To really get this need for balance across, the text uses some absolutely brilliant imagery. It compares our attachment to physical and mental pleasures to trying to start a fire with different types of wood. Think about it. First, imagine taking a piece of wet, sap-filled wood that's literally soaking in water and rubbing it to make a fire. You're just going to exhaust yourself, right? That's like someone physically and mentally drowning in sensual desires. Second, and this is a direct hit on Saccaka's argument, even if you pull that wet wood out of the water and toss it on dry land, it still won't spark. This is the person who physically isolates themselves from pleasure, but mentally they are still totally obsessed with it. No fire. No enlightenment. It's only the third scenario, dry wood on dry land, where the person is physically detached and mentally free from craving, that the fire of true peace actually ignites. Section 3, the path of extremes, the trial of asceticism. Now, the Buddha wants to prove to Saccaka that he isn't just making this stuff up. He's not speaking from theory here. He actually recounts his own horrifying past, back when he put his own body through the most extreme ascetic practices you could possibly imagine. He's basically saying, look, I've walked this path of physical extremes, and I know exactly where it leads. He lays out this terrifying timeline. Stage 1, he literally tried to crush his own mind with sheer physical force. He clenched his teeth and pressed his tongue to the roof of his mouth so hard that sweat poured from his armpits. And when that didn't work, stage 2, he just stopped breathing. Literally held his breath through his nose, mouth, and ears. And finally, stage 3, he went on a near-starvation diet, living on just drops of bean juice or a single handful of food a day. The source material goes into the sheer agony this caused, and it is intense. Holding his breath caused this loud, crazy roaring in his ears. He compared it to a blacksmith's bellows. He had head pains so severe it felt like a strong man was slicing his skull open with a sword. He described stomach cramps that felt like a butcher was carving up his insides, and a body heat so extreme it was like being roasted alive over a fire pit. But here's the crazy part, and exactly what he wanted Saccaka to hear. Despite all that physical torture, his mind actually refused to be overwhelmed. He kept his mental focus. But it didn't bring him even an inch closer to true peace. And the fasting, it was just as brutal. The imagery used here is striking. He says, my spine stood out like a string of beads. My eyes sank deep into their sockets like stars in a deep well. The skin of my head withered like a green gourd in the sun. He talks about how if he just tried to touch his stomach, he'd feel his spine. His ribs looked like the rotting rafters of an old barn. If he rubbed his limbs, his hair literally fell out by the roots. He pushed the human body as far as it could possibly go without dying, and it achieved absolutely nothing. Section 4, discovering the middle way. A pivotal childhood memory. So there he is, pushed to the absolute brink of death, looking like a living skeleton and totally empty-handed on the wisdom front. It hits him. Self-torture is a complete dead end. Extreme asceticism is not the path. But then a turning point comes from just one single profound memory. Sitting there starving, he remembers being a kid, sitting peacefully in the cool shade of a rose apple tree during a festival. And in that random childhood moment, he had experienced this spontaneous state of deep, pure, completely detached joy. It wasn't the kind of joy you get from craving something and finally getting it. It was just a quiet, peaceful joy. That one memory triggers a massive realization. Actually, scratch that. It was a total game changer. The mind actually needs a nourished body to reach deep, concentrated peace. He realized he'd been starving the exact vessel he needed to generate the energy for deep meditation. He accepts that he shouldn't be afraid of this pure, detached joy. And to keep that mental clarity going, he knows he has to stop fasting and start actually eating real food again, like rice and porridge. Section 5. The 3 Ultimate Knowledges. Mapping the Enlightenment. Okay, so after he starts eating again, his companions are totally disgusted and abandon him. But he just sits down. With his physical strength finally back, he dives into deep, successive states of meditation. And step by step, over the course of the 3 watches of the night, he finally breaks through. First watch, he gains the ability to remember his own past lives, tracing his existence way back. Middle watch, he gets this cosmic vision to see the karma and rebirth of all beings across the universe, like really understanding the universal law of cause and effect. And finally, the last watch of the night brings the ultimate breakthrough. He completely destroys the deep-seated mental taints that cause all suffering. Section 6. Achieving unshakable peace, eradicating the us of us. This right here is the ultimate goal of the middle way. And it's the exact thing Saccaka couldn't grasp because he was so fixated on physical punishment. So what are these mental taints, or asavas? Basically, they are our mental defilements, delusions, and deep cravings. We're talking about the craving for sensuality, the craving to keep becoming, and just fundamental ignorance. These are the sneaky, hidden forces that keep us all trapped in endless cycles of suffering and reacting to things. By identifying and completely uprooting these asavas, the Buddha achieved absolute liberation. The text uses this awesome metaphor for it. It's like cutting off a palm tree right at the stump. Once it's uprooted like that, it can never, ever grow back. It lays out a super clear contrast. You've got the deluded person whose actions, stresses, and freakouts are all driven by these hidden, uneradicated asavas. And then on the flip side, you have the undiluted person, the awakened mind, who is completely free from them. Just like that severed palm stump, the very root of reactivity is just gone. So when immense pleasure or terrible pain hits the undiluted person, their mind stays completely pristine. Why? Because there's no craving left inside to catch fire. Now remember, Saccaka, throughout this whole debate, he's been trying to intellectually corner, provoke, and just generally anger the Buddha. But by the end, Saccaka is completely awestruck. He actually admits defeat, saying, "Even when provoked by my crafted words, your complexion is clear and your face is radiant. I take my leave." The fact that the Buddha remained perfectly luminous and chill in the face of such an aggressive, hostile debate, that was the ultimate living proof that the middle way, not physical torture, was the real path to mastering the mind. Which brings us to our final takeaway for you today. You know, the Mahāsaccaka Sutta isn't just some dusty piece of ancient history. It's basically a mirror for our own lives. We live in a world that is constantly, relentlessly bombarding us with stimuli. So ask yourself, if sudden pain or immense pleasure strikes you right now, who is truly in the driver's seat? Is it your immediate, knee-jerk physical reactions, or is it your unshakable mind? Because true peace doesn't come from fighting your body or torturing yourself. It comes from deeply understanding and liberating your mind. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll leave you to ponder that one.